Hey, this is Mike from muscleforlife.com, and in this short video, I'm going to answer a question that somebody submitted over at my AMA thread on my website, which I will link down below if you want to submit questions as well, and you either get an answer in writing or I'll pick your question might be picked and I might do a video on it. So the question is, what does my diet look like on a day-to-day basis? Obviously, I've written a lot about dieting and how to tweak your diet for losing fat, how to tweak it for building muscle, and so forth. But what am I doing? And I'm in a maintenance mode, which I've been for about a year, which means that I'm more or less, not so much on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis, I'm more or less eating the amount of energy that I'm burning, which means that my body weight has remained stable at about between 190 and 192 pounds for about a year now. And that's intentional. It's mainly because I'm happy with my overall size. I kind of have the look that I want, and I don't want to just generally get bigger. I'll take a bit more shoulders. I'll take a bit more calves. I think I could use a bit more lats, and so I'm doing things to work on those areas. I don't feel I have a reason to just do a full-on bulk. I don't really want to have the bodybuilder look. I want to have the more muscular athletic look, and I feel like I'm kind of there, so that's why I've been maintaining. And for me, what that means in terms of calories and macros, it's about 27 to 2,900 calories a day. There are little fluctuations because I'm not following a pat meal plan. And that's one of the nice things with maintenance is I actually do tend to eat the same foods every day because I just eat stuff that I like, and I'll eat it for months on end because every day I still enjoy it. And then I'll change a meal here and there and just kind of repeat the process. But quantities will change a little bit. I might eat a little bit more vegetables at dinner, or I might have, a little bit more chocolate. That's kind of my little daily dessert. You can just kind of play it by weight and how you look in the mirror. So, and also just by knowing your intake. So if I know I ate a bit more than I would normally eat, so let's say I know that my calories were maybe closer to 3,000 for a day or two, then I'll just reduce my calories to maybe 2,500 for a day or two to undo the little bit of fat gain. Now, and that might sound kind of neurotic, but it's not. I mean, it's just the simple fact is even if you slightly overeat for a few days, your body's going to store at least a little bit of fat. And so just slightly undereat for a few days, just reduce your carb intake really is the easiest way to do it. And then you eliminate that fat. And it's just an easy way to do it. And you don't have to necessarily track everything that you eat. So those are my calories. On the weekends, they're usually a little bit lower because I'm not as active on the weekends. Like I'm not lifting on the weekends. I am playing some golf and I'm doing some ice skating. So I'm eating a bit more now on the weekends than I was, let's say 6 months ago. But again, I'm shooting for right around maintenance. And if I'm on the weekends, if I'm gonna err, I prefer to err on the side of maybe eating a little bit less. I prefer to be in a slight deficit than a slight surplus. That's just because I want to stay lean, and I know that where my calories more or less need to be. And when you are lean, I'm probably about 8% body fat. You see slight differences easier in the mirror. They're more evident. So if I, slightly overeat even for 5 or 6 days, I can see that in the mirror. But when you're, let's say, 13, 14, 15%, you really wouldn't see a difference unless you were just completely overboard about it and eating, 7,000 calories a day or something. So in terms of macros, my protein is about 200 grams a day. So it's around 1 gram per pound, sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less. My carbs are around, let's say, 400 grams a day. And then my fats are somewhere around 50 grams a day. And I get my protein mainly from, so I do a few scoops of whey a day. I really like Greek yogurt, so I have some Greek yogurt at night. That's kind of my last meal with some oatmeal. So right now I've been doing it for quite some time. I've been doing these baked oatmeal dishes, which I'll link an article down below, where I give the base recipe where I kind of found this, and then I've made a million versions of it since. But I like eating a large amount of my calories at night these days, just because it's enjoyable. I find that, I don't know. I don't even have it. It's just something I was like, I'm just going to try, eating 300 grams of carbs or 350 grams of carbs after dinner at night. And it's enjoyable, probably mainly because I really enjoy these oatmeal dishes, and I'm not going to make them here at the office. So I really am going to be at home to do it. And I work still, I eat dinner and then I do a couple hours of work, and it's a lot of food. So obviously it's almost like a sedative So I want to have that after I'm done working. So I usually am wrapping up at about 10 o'clock. So then that's when I have this big, huge bolus of carbs, basically. And it's nice for winding down. And there's also research that shows that going to sleep, like eating a fair amount of carbohydrate before you go to sleep, can help you sleep better. So I don't really generally have sleep problems, so I can't say it's really improved anything in that regard. But it is nice for just relaxing and winding down. And in terms of my fats, obviously I'm getting some fat from the meat that I'm eating, although generally it's leaner meat. Sometimes I'll throw in some red meat, but it's generally leaner, like chicken and turkey. And sometimes it's fish, which obviously has good omega-3 fat. I also do take fish oil. I take about 4 grams, which is the fish oil, but the EPA, DHA, like the omega-3 content is probably about 2.5 grams. I take that every day. Then I have about a tablespoon to a tablespoon and a half of olive oil on my salad for lunch. So that's obviously a good source of monounsaturated fat. Sometimes I'll put some nuts in this oatmeal dish that I make every night. So like pecans are good, or walnuts are good. Another good source of unsaturated fat. And I have an egg in the oatmeal dish as well. So that's where my fat is coming from. Now, if that sounds like it's too little fat, then you should read an article I just wrote on this, where I dive into how many grams of fat should you be eating per day and why. And the long story short is, high fat dieting is just really overrated. It can have negligible effects on your hormones. And the main problem is for people that are into weightlifting or just very physically active, is the more fat you eat, the less carbs you can eat. And in terms of building muscle and building strength, keeping your carb intake high is much more important than keeping your fat intake high. You need to keep your fat intake at a level that is going to support your basic health needs and give your body the essential fatty acids that it can't produce itself. The omega-3s, EPA, DHA are particularly important, which is why I supplement with fish oil, because I just don't really I like pretty much all foods but fatty fish, like salmon, mackerel. It just tastes bad to me. So I'd rather just take a supplement than eat it. But of course, you can eat your EPA, DHA if you like fatty fish. So again, if you're listening to this, go to Muscle for Life and search for how many grams of fat. It should come up, or just put it into Google, how many grams of fat per day, Muscle for Life, and it'll come up. And you can dive into the subject and see why I generally recommend a high protein, high carb, and low to moderate fat diet for building muscle, for losing fat, even for maintaining, and why I recommend that people start there and then adjust based on how their body responds. Some people are going to do better, are going to feel better on a higher fat diet, but I wouldn't make that the default. I would say that is the adjustment. And in terms of meal frequency, I prefer to eat every few hours. That's just the way that I like to do it. IF is not really for me. I do a bit on the weekends sometimes by just skipping breakfast, mainly because I'm eating fewer calories on the weekends, and I like to condense those calories that I am eating into fewer meals, just because I have larger meals. And if I'm not super active and I'm not, I don't really deal with hunger much anyway. If I'm going to go out to dinner at night, I like to save, if I'm going to a restaurant, I like to save a large amount of calories for that. So I don't do that during the week. If I go out to dinner, it's going to be probably Saturday night, sometimes Friday night. But if I'm going out Saturday night, for instance, I want to basically just have some protein throughout the day and then save all my carbs and fats for that meal. And an IF type of approach where I'm skipping breakfast and I'm just having, a simple high protein, low carb, low fat lunch, and maybe then a protein snack later in the day, and then going out to dinner. It's just a nice, easy, flexible way to get my food on the weekends. In terms of meal timing, I've written about this. I've spoken about this a lot. Meal timing, as you probably know, doesn't really matter. That said, I do have a post-workout shake when I'm on the days that I'm lifting, which right now is 4 days per week. And I have that here at the office. Ideally, that would be a high protein, high carb shake meal. Right now, it's just high protein because I want to save those carbs for later in the day. I wouldn't do that if I were bulking and I were really trying to maximize muscle growth. I would be having a good amount of carbs with that meal as well, and that's why I generally recommend that. And there are different reasons for that. It's not just glycogen replenishment, but it's also related to insulin levels. Again, I'll link an article down below on post-workout nutrition that kind of goes into it more. And if you're listening, you can just search for post-workout nutrition on Muscle for Life, and you'll find more on that. And just to clarify on my carbs, where my carbs are coming from, I'm eating a lot of vegetables every day. I eat probably about 3 servings of vegetables a day, and then I eat about 3 servings of fruit a day. These days, it's bananas, and blueberries and strawberries because I bake them into this oatmeal dish, and that's just my favorite combination. Green apples can be really good too because it kind of makes it like an apple pie type of thing. But so I eat a few servings of fruits and vegetables every day, and then I'm eating about a cup and a half of dry oatmeal. But then I'm mixing it with chocolate milk, which adds some more carbs. And of course, there's the fruit in there that adds carbs, and sometimes I'll put some maple syrup on it, which adds carbs. And I have some chocolate, so I'm getting a little bit of my carbs from sugar, but it's about 200 calories of chocolate a day. Otherwise, I don't eat much sugar just because I don't really have a sweet tooth. I really enjoy sugar. Like, delicious desserts are delicious, but I don't feel compelled to eat a bunch of sugar every day. And, it's not that sugar per se is so bad, especially when your diet is generally very good. If you're getting the majority of your calories from nutritious foods and you're exercising regularly and you're lean and you're muscular, you can abuse sugar pretty hard and not really notice a difference in anything. But there is a point where if you take it too far, you're kind of stealing calories that should be used on nutritious foods, and you're just eating junk, instead, and that can cause problems in terms of micronutrient deficiencies. And you're going to notice it in how you feel. You're going to notice it in how you sleep. You're going to notice it in your workouts. And also, there are foods, high sugar foods, that have other, bad things in them, like let's say trans fats. So let's say you're eating junk cereal. That's your thing. So if you're eating too much junk cereal every day and you're getting, you can easily eat a few grams of trans fat per day. That's bad. That is going to cause problems at some point. So I'm not a big sugar person. I'm not afraid to eat sugar. And I do generally recommend have some little dessert every day. Have something nice. Save a couple hundred calories. Save 10% of your daily calories for something that just tastes good. For me, this oatmeal is almost like a dessert, but then it's chocolate generally. And sometimes I'll have, sometimes I'll switch the chocolate for like some Halo Top ice cream. I mean, no, it's not Talenti, but it's like 250 calories per pint. Talenti is 1,000 calories per pint. So, and it tastes pretty good. The strawberry, I think, is the best. Vanilla's okay. Chocolate's not very good. They have like a birthday cake that was kind of weird, and I think it was birthday cake. And then they have like a lemon that was, I'm not big on lemon sorbets or anything like that, but strawberry is good. So sometimes I'll replace that 200 calories of chocolate with 250 calories of Halo Top. And, obviously it has some sugar. So that's my carbs, and that generally is my diet. I don't change it much because I just kind of eat foods I like, and when I get sick of something, I do change it. Like, within the next month or so, maybe I'll try something different, instead of this oatmeal. I was thinking maybe making some rice puddings could be really good because I love rice pudding. So that's my diet. I hope that answers the question. And if you have any other questions, you can submit them down below if you're on YouTube here, and I can answer some. It's hard to stay on top of everything because YouTube's comment management system sucks. So it's better if you go over and drop the question on the AMA. On my website, because that's run through Discuss, and then it runs through my email, and I can stay on top of it much easier. So hope this helps, and I will see you in the next short video next week.